Because I've got you, I've got you. You're looking at the stars and you feel it in your heart.
We're lucky enough to have James Clark, the man, Managing Director of Bolster. Mate, welcome. Side stage of main stage.
Thank you very much. Good to be at the side stage of main stage.
Mate, give us a bit of a spiel. Bolster are one of the major partners of main stage. Why was it so important for you guys to be involved with this?
It's just important that the industry starts to have more conversations like this, and it was an opportunity for us to partner with Unified and obviously Creative Victoria to get this off the ground, and Harry the Hire coming on board as well. And just for us, we work with so many different partners across the industry that it was important to, bring this conversation to the fore post-COVID. We work with a lot of entertainment clients, festivals, events, management companies, record labels, but then on the other side of the fence, we work with a lot of brands, and we have the privilege of being able to connect the dots between those two worlds quite often, so it made a lot of sense for us to be involved today.
What's Aeroplane Agency?
So Aeroplane's a sister agency to Bolster, and it's mainly focused on commercial rights for festivals. So we work with a lot of brands, helping them integrate at festivals like Laneway and Spilt Milk and some of the other big ones across the country. And on the Bolster side of the fence, it's more the marketing side of things. So we focus on content creation, digital campaigns, and amplifying that content out through social and digital channels.
What an exciting space to work in. Surely, being involved around so many creators, people doing interesting things, it must be pretty energizing.
It is, yeah. And we've got a ripper team at Bolster who, they deliver all the hard work. Like the guys who have pulled this together today are constantly flying around the country to shoot with artists and brands and just make these campaigns happen. It's good to see the end work when it comes to life, for sure.
Well, what goes into doing a campaign?
A ton of things, a hell of a lot of stuff behind the scenes that people don't just see when they're watching the content, the finished product. But if we take an example, like we did a collaboration with JBL and Client Liaison, who are a Unified artist, back in 2018, where it was all about getting Client Liaison to an event that was happening for JBL in the US. It was in Las Vegas. This was a hell of a lot of fun, this one. I actually had the pleasure of driving an RV across Joshua Tree in California with the Client Liaison boys in the back, which was hilarious. But all the pre-work that goes into pulling that off, then the actual shooting and production, and then the post-prod to get it up and amplifying it through socials, like a massive amount of work. And it's not just us, it's other agencies that do great work like this. Secret Sounds Connect, who are doing a talk shortly with Andy Walsh, Bring, and also Mushroom Creative House. Like all of these guys producing such great content with artists and brands. So.
Well, where do you see the space heading in the next 1 to 2 years, the branded content space?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting, because I think we're all kind of aware of the changing landscape of sort of influencer content and what sort of influencer marketing means. And I think branded content in the future, for me, we definitely want to spend more of our time focused on authentic artist storytelling or creator storytelling, things that have meaning and purpose, not just around pairing up someone with a huge audience reach and a brand to sell a product, but actually brands getting behind really good, authentic artist storytelling. I think that's where, certainly we're going to be focusing our energy moving forward over the next couple of years.
What are your thoughts on content as currency?
I think there's sometimes content just for the sake of content. The unfortunate reality of what social media is today means that something that's pretty lo-fi and kind of gaggy, as opposed to deeply thought out and rich in its purpose and meaning, can carry further than something that does have a lot of meaning. So I think there's content for the sake of content. I think it definitely does have an inherent value for both artists and brands if the topic is right and rich.
What about if you could work with one artist or one brand, who would it be?
That's a good question.
Put you on the spot here.
Yeah. All right. I'll go LCD sound system and Maxibon, because it's my favourite ice cream and my favourite artist.
There you go.
You're a
Nah, it's
Maxibon
ridiculous.
fan.
I'm a
That'll never
Maxibon
happen.
fan.
That'll absolutely never happen. But I think, there's probably... I'd like to start to do a lot more in, the sustainability space. I think there's interesting ways of looking at a lot of social issues, things that just are, challenging in the world today, and the way that an artist or a creator can have an influence on sharing that messaging, that important message that actually impacts people's lives for the greater good. So I'd like to see, more content get out in the world that's really, purpose-driven content from brands.
How does the process work? Like, do the brands and the artists come together with you guys in a workshop, or how does the flow of that work?
Yeah, we're basically a facilitator as an agency. So you've got the artist on one end and the brand on the other, and often, our briefs are brand-led, so it comes with a set of objectives, what the brand's trying to achieve, and it's about sort of pairing that with the artist's integrity and making sure that that's not lost at the same time. So yeah, we make sure that process is as collaborative as possible, and I guess the artist, like I think some of the guys in the earlier discussion talked about, the artist has a say in how that creativity comes to life. It's not just turning up and being the face of a message that they don't necessarily believe in. So yeah, definitely a collaborative process.
How do you see the space here in Australia continuing to evolve, especially in the content and brand perspective?
Yeah, like I said, I think lots of purpose-driven campaigns from brands is a really exciting space that I'd like to see and do more of for our agency. And I think it's just like tackling new emerging tech and coming up with different ways to tell stories. Shooting long-form cinematic content in 16:9 is not really relevant to a lot of audiences that are viewing content through new channels and mediums. So it's about adapting to the landscape and what new tech's coming out to take advantage of and create content in those spaces.
So you're constantly on the lookout for new trends and stuff like that. Is that part of your job?
I've thankfully got a very savvy team who do a lot of that, deep dive and thinking. We share a lot of amazing ideas within the four walls of Bolster, and yeah, it's definitely between the creative team and digital team. There's a lot. It sparks a lot of really interesting conversation, and new ideas form from that. So.
For creators out there who might not have the budget to be able to work with a creative team, what are some of the entry things that you think they could look at about creating their own sort of content out there that is at a high quality level?
Yeah, well, the great thing is, the way that social media's changed and the way that people consume content, it's very raw, it's very real, it's very now. So, a lot of the work that we do is not on huge production budgets. A lot of it's pretty lo-fi. A lot of it's, receiving, particularly during COVID, was receiving, content, video content from artists themselves. We did some stuff with Peking Duck for their socials, which Adam and Ruben shot themselves on their phone, and we put it into our studio and created sort of really lo-fi Instagram stories or reels that made sense for that channel, for that audience. So it doesn't have to be super polished or presented in like a cinematic, beautiful way, but instead just have, I guess, a good story behind it and good meaning. So yeah, taking advantage of just the tools that you've got.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing some insights into Bolster, and thank you so much for partnering with this amazing event.
The things I would